it is important to understand the different ways of funding graduate education. When you are pursuing a PhD, the expectation is often that you will not have outside employment and that you will focus on developing your research career. This also means that PhD programs often fund your tuition and living expenses. But this is typically not the case for master's degrees and for applied professional degrees. In this video, I'll take you through the different options of paying for graduate education. When thinking about funding graduate school, you need to think about tuition, books and college supplies, living expenses like shelter, food, transportation, and health insurance. This can add up. There are different ways to help cover some or all of these costs, and I'll go over these 6 common options bulleted out on this slide. Graduate programs may have what we call assistantships. The most typical are either teaching assistantships or research assistantships. Think about your graduate student TAs for your undergraduate courses. Faculty who have large grants can offer research assistantships, where graduate students help them with their research projects. Typically, assistantships are for 20 hours of work per week and may cover tuition, a modest salary, and health insurance. It is important to note that assistantship stipends, that is salaries, are normally for 9 months because you get summers off, and there are only 20 hours a week. This means that they probably cover living expenses for those 9 months, but that you won't be saving a lot of money or going on lavish vacations. You'll also have to find summer work. Depending on the type of program, they may offer assistantships for administrative, pre-professional, or practicum work. That is, you would be compensated for on-the-job training. For example, you may study speech therapy and complete a practicum where you are working with individuals on their speech development. In addition to receiving credit for your graduate degree, you could also be compensated for the work you're doing. Note that these may only provide a wage and not cover tuition expenses. Each graduate program will be unique in the types of assistantships they offer, how many they can offer their students, and what they cover. Therefore, when investigating potential programs, you should search for information on assistantships. Also, it is important to know that most programs will have a question on their application about whether or not you're interested in being considered for funding. So you should click yes on that. And if it's not on the application, you can always inquire with the program staff on how you should apply for assistantships and/or other funding. I should also mention that when you become a graduate student at any particular institution, you are eligible for on-campus student jobs. You can also take a look at the student employment website for the institution and see what types of graduate student job postings there are, as sometimes academic units will post assistantship positions there that you can apply to. Tuition waivers waive part of or all of the tuition for a particular semester, but they won't cover living expenses or books. These can be institutional, meaning the university is waiving tuition, or departmental, meaning the program you're applying to can waive your tuition. Some educational institutions offer tuition waivers or tuition reductions for their employees and their immediate family members. This means that students pay a reduced price for tuition, which is different than tuition reimbursement. Again, when researching programs, you can look for types of funding opportunities to see if there are tuition waivers and how to apply for them. As an undergraduate, you may be familiar with different types of financial aid, such as student loans, grants, and scholarships. At the graduate level, these opportunities tend to be fewer. Many graduate students end up taking out student loans. Student loans are specialized loans that have lower interest rates. Some loans are supported through government programs, and some are available through private banking institutions. I believe that taking out student loans are a valuable option, but I only advocate students consider this option if the career they plan to pursue after finishing graduate school will be sufficient to pay off the student loan in a timely manner. That is, you don't want to have debt you'll never be able to pay off. This is why it's so important to have a clearly defined career goal and be sure that your graduate degree will help you reach those goals. At the graduate level, there are fewer scholarships available, but they do exist. it's worth searching the programs and institutions' website to investigate scholarships as well as conduct general internet searches for private scholarships. At the graduate level, there are more often fellowships rather than scholarships. So this is another key term you can search on. Think of fellowships as a scholarship that cover tuition and potentially give you a living stipend. These can be offered through educational institutions as well as private funding organizations. Scholarships and fellowships are going to be highly competitive and usually require an involved application process. Therefore, if you find one that you believe you qualify for, it will be important to research what is needed and get help on your application materials. Tuition reimbursement is different than tuition waivers or reduction. Employers and companies are typically the ones who offer tuition reimbursement for continued education. This is typically done for master's programs and for programs that will help you advance in the career and company you are in. Normally, you would enroll in and pay for the tuition up front, and then once you completed the semester or possibly the program, the company would reimburse you for a portion of the tuition you paid. Each company is going to have their own rules and stipulations, but this is a benefit worth looking into when considering employment at a particular company. Another type of reimbursement is loan forgiveness programs. Typically, these are government-funded programs that will pay off part of your student loans if you fulfill certain requirements, such as working in service-driven jobs like teaching and healthcare for a certain amount of time. Funding through service such as the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, or Teach for America is another type of tuition reimbursement. Depending on programs and types of service, participating in one of these programs after you graduate may qualify you for a percentage of student loan forgiveness or provide you a set amount of tuition funds available for graduate studies. Note that these benefits are not guaranteed and many have stipulations such as having financial need. So if you're interested in trying to fund your graduate school education through service programs, you should look into them before entering graduate school to get a better idea of potential benefits. Graduate education is not only a time investment, but a large financial investment. There is not only the cost of attending, but the time you are in graduate school is time away from the job market, earning a yearly salary. In our current U.S. market, this means your lifelong earning potential is most likely diminished for every year you're not in the professional workforce. This is not to say you should not consider going to graduate school, just that the decision to attend should include your personal and professional goals, as well as a full understanding of the costs and potential gains, whether they be professional or personal. For example, I've met numerous students who took 7 to 8 years to complete a PhD, but then chose jobs that aren't research related, and only required a bachelor's degree. While the PhD was a valuable experience where they learned transferable skills and most likely make great friendships and develop professional relationships, it probably isn't getting them more salary than they would have gotten entering that career after finishing their bachelor's or master's. That is, PhDs, as our research degrees, as well as master's degrees, don't necessarily get you a leg up in jobs that don't require research skills. Professional degrees, however, that provide you with a specific set of skills and expertise, like say a lawyer or a K-12 educator or administrator, will translate into jobs that have higher earning potential because they require that specialization. So it is important to consider these costs and weigh them against the potential benefits, as well as investigate ways that you may be able to fund your graduate studies.